Right on to our presentation this morning. This morning's talk is our very own Mary Sue Molnar, who is the head of Texas Voices. And she started from scratch in this business, not really knowing anything, but having a heart for it and learning along the way. And she's going to talk a little bit about her journey today and what it has been like to go from not even knowing who her legislators were to being a recognized face at the Capitol building and someone who does have a voice and is influential in policy making in the state of Texas now. So Mary Sue, come on up. Tell us where you've been and what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I think I've met most of you today or this weekend. My name is Mary Sue Molnar, and I'm the Executive Director of Texas Voices for Reason and Justice. I don't have, actually, I'm just going to do what Larry asked me to do, so I just made a few notes. First of all, I'd like to thank NARSOL. Without the communications that we have, our organization has, with NARSOL, I wouldn't know anything that was going on in the other states. I wouldn't know about any of the litigation. I wouldn't know about a lot of the articles that come out. So this is a huge benefit to Texas, to be connected with NARSOL. We get all the latest information. We get opinions from the other state organizers and their members. It's just tremendous for us. So I want to just briefly tell you how I got started. I guess it was about 10 years ago, my son got caught up and charged with a sex offense. I won't go into his story because at this point he is out of prison, he is back home, he's on parole, and I feel like it's his story to tell. It's not my story. But I got involved in this when this was going on with him. I found out he was going to be a registered sex offender for life. I really didn't know what that meant. So I started going online, and I think a lot of people go online, and that's why websites are so important. I started looking around and trying to learn more about what it means to be registered. And the first good resource that I found was back then RSOL. And I believe the only original person is you, Paul, that's left in all these years. Actively. So at the time, they had an online petition. There was quite a few people that had signed. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, I'm from Texas. I'm thinking of starting a little group because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody that had anybody registered. And I had went through the registry, and my zip code and looked to see if I knew anybody, which I didn't. So I emailed him and asked him, can you give me some info about other people from Texas that signed your petition? And the response I got was, well, we do have some from Texas, but we can't give you their information. Would you like for us to give them your information? Oh, hell yeah. So I sent my name, my phone number, my email address. Please send them. So they did. And I think 3 or 4 people contacted me from there and, kind of quietly and said, what are you planning to do? Who are you? It was a lot more closet back then than it is now. And one of the first people that contacted me that had signed their petition was an attorney from Texas, Bill Hayburn. I guess y'all probably haven't heard of him. He speaks at all of our conferences. He's very powerful, parole and civil rights attorney, although he's nearing the retirement age. And he sent me an email and he said, it's pretty much said, Miss Molnar, I know what you're planning to do, but nonprofits, activist groups, they come and go. And they start and 6-8 months later, they're gone, or they help their loved one and then they're gone. And, and I think what you're trying to do is admirable, just wishing you good luck. So I emailed him back a couple of days later and said, well, I have 3 members now. And sure, I was excited, 3 people. And then about a week or 2 later, I emailed him back and said, 10 members. And I started bugging him, like, just emailing him and going, guess what? 3 more, now we have 12. So we had our first meeting in Austin, and there was about 12 of us. And I was pretty sick after that meeting. There were 2 or 3 people there who had went and testified before the legislature before, and they were talking about bill numbers and committee substitutes and all of this stuff. I had no clue what they were talking about. And they said, well, who's your legislator? And I went, I don't know. So after that long 3-hour meeting, I went home and I was literally sick. I thought, what the hell did I think I was doing? Oh, I'm starting a group. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the law. I don't know anything about how laws are made. I don't know anything about anything. What the world did I think? So I spent a few days in that hole of depression going, oh my God, what am I going to do now? How do I get out of this? And then I started spending my evenings online on that Texas legislature online website and just started going through everything that I could. And there's a lot. I mean, it's impossible to learn everything without actually being there. So made my first trip to the Capitol. First thing I did was find out who my legislators were. Made my first trip to the Capitol with a list of questions, and I would go in and out of the offices. Hi, my name is Mary Sue Molnar. I have some questions. Now just start asking. How do you do this? And how does that work? And how does this work? And what does this mean? And what does that mean? And the more I learned, the more overwhelmed I became. Because I'm a slow learner. I'm not a quick learner. This was a lot of stuff to take in. So, the first year was really rough. I was still wondering what I had done by getting together a group. And then I was wondering how in the world I was going to pull it off. I was computer illiterate. I still am, in most people's eyes, computer illiterate. And I depend on other members to help me figure things out. So we started with this little Yahoo group. And if y'all know Yahoo groups and Google groups, they're chat rooms. But as the organization grew, we had to cut out the chat part of it. Because when you get 60 plus members in there, it generates tons of emails. So now that group is set up just for me to go in and send out updates to everybody in the group. And if they hit reply, their reply only comes back to me. And that's the best way to keep for us. Now that's kind of an old-fashioned way. There's better and newer things out there, but this has worked for us all these years. So we just keep moving forward with it. It's very, very simple for me, and I need those simple things. For those of you who are just starting advocacy work, or you've started and you're just kind of getting into it, please know that you cannot be any further behind than I was. You cannot, there's no way, you cannot be. I don't have any degrees in anything. I went to college for many years, and I studied furniture, upholstery, and refinishing. I hated government. Even in high school, government, I hated it. And here I am. So you couldn't be any further behind than I was. It's hard to learn, but it's crazy because if you wait like a year and then you look back, you'd be shocked at how much you've learned. So it's been a challenge, lots of ups and downs. We've grown tremendously. There's over 600 people in our email group, and we constantly update that. Once a year, I'm constantly adding new members, and then once a year I send out an email to everyone in that group that says, are you staying in this group? And you have 15 days to respond. So the people that don't respond are removed from the group. Either they're not reading the emails. Some of these folks have been rearrested on technical violations and they're back in prison or jail. Some of them, maybe we've got a few ladies that have separated or split up with their loved one who's registered. They don't need to be in the group anymore. We have a few who've passed away. So that's how you clear up, or that's how we clear up and clean out such a large membership, is by that email that gets sent out. If they're active members and they're reading our emails, they're going to see it and they're going to respond. And then we ask them to respond with an updated phone number and address, which is all confidential. So that's how we keep up with our members. We don't have a membership fee. We depend on donations. There's some downsides to being a large organization, for me at least. One of the downsides is that when there was only 40 or 50 of us, I knew everyone. I knew their stories. I knew what the situation was with them or their loved one. I could look at them and know their name and know exactly why they're in the group. I knew everything about them. So we had this really close connection. And that's been lost for me going through the years, because as your group grows and new members come in, you're hearing so many stories and you're meeting so many new people that you start to forget who's who. You know, and I mean, there was one day when I talked to 5 people in one day and talked to each one of them for probably an hour. And then the next week, 2 of them called back and said, "Do you remember me? My name is so-and-so." "Yeah, I remember him." "Well, did you find out anything about my story?" And I'm thinking, what was her story? It's not that I don't care or that it didn't mean something to me. They just all start to run together when you get so many members. So that's the downside for me. I miss that close connection. I miss calling folks or having them call me and just visiting and sharing with them, you know, but there's not much time for me to do that anymore. So that's one of the downsides. I have weak points that I'm still working on. I still need some to update myself on some of the more efficient technology that I could be using. I have no legal understanding of the law, and I have to depend on people like Larry Neely and the lawyers to help me figure things out so that I can turn around and explain them to our membership. And the problem is when you call a lawyer and you say, "Can you explain this case to me?" It's like, I have to say, "Okay, can you dumb it down? Can you explain it real simply? You know, something real simple that I can understand. Let's not use all these legal terms. Just tell me what the hell's going on." So, you know, that's a problem. I have no legal understanding. And then one thing that I'm working on right now, personally, I am and have been for many years unable to find a balance between, you know, taking care of myself or having fun and letting the organization go for just a little while, just to, you know, to do something else. I have a hard time. I've always had a hard time finding that balance. But I think what happens is once you start meeting the people and they become like your family, and that you become real close to everyone, and you get so involved and obsessed and, you know, consumed in the organization that, you know, everything else is kind of lost. And funny thing is, that's okay for me, but for now. But I do realize that I need to work harder on finding a little bit of a balance, you know, between enjoying myself and relaxing and forgetting everything for a while. I don't know how I'm going to do that. So if anybody wants me to send me an email with ideas on how to do that, I'd be more than happy to read them. The member issues that we've had with our members are not many. Most of the new members that come in, they think that we have the magic wand and that within a year we're going to be able to fix all their problems. And then when that doesn't happen, they get really disappointed and they'll kind of drop off. So we've got a lot of people that have left, and some of them just because they got tired of the fight. You know, they got tired of fighting, and it's been too much. And so they've kind of slowed down. We've got new members coming in all the time, so it's a constant educating. They want to know what can I do, what can I do, what can I do. I send out those emails all the time letting people know what they can do. There's a lot of little things that we ask our members to do, knowing that there's many of the members who don't do anything. They just want to stay in the group and read the emails, but maybe they have kids, maybe they have a full-time job, and they just can't do much. But there's always something they can do. So one thing that I did that really made me feel good at the response, we do an inmate newsletter about 3 times a year to federal inmates and state. And I send out an email saying, you know, we could use some stamps, postage stamps. And for those of you who always are looking for some way to help, here's a good way to help. You can even send 5 or 2, or we got almost 2,000 postage stamps mailed in. And a lot of those stamps were from members that never do anything. This was something easy and not expensive that they could do. So I try to give everybody something to do, even if it's small, so they can feel like in some way they're being a part of it. I think it's real important to have a good board of directors, which we do. I hate to make decisions on my own. A lot of times I can't decide and I'm going back and forth. So it's good to be able to call up the board members and say, look, I can't decide here. What do you think about this? Or there's something going on. I'd like to ask your opinion. It's really good to have people on there that you trust and that are going to help you by, you know, talking things through. That way, when we do make a decision, we know that it's the right decision. Another big thing that we've been really lucky with in Texas is what I call drown the drama. Drown the drama. When you have a lot of members, you have members that are angry, you have members that are encouraging, you have some that want to push forward, some that will hold you back, some that will suck you dry. You have members that come up with ideas and they say, oh, I've got this great idea. I've got one guy who emailed me every week for a year. He has this grand idea, and this is what we need to do. But when he says we, he means me. So those are the kind of things that, there are a lot of things that get rather irritating. So we've had to learn to deal with that by saying, I love your idea and I think it's a good one. Would you like to lead a committee to get this done? And normally that stops the emails. Except for Peter. I tried that on him. Would you like to get together with some people and do this? And he said, oh yeah. I'm like, wow. Somebody that's acting. So that's, one of the tough things when you're leading a group is everybody knows how you should be doing things and what you should be doing. But unless they're willing to pitch in, and we love ideas, and some of the ideas that we've gotten are really great. But some, that we've taken to the board and we've discussed. But other ideas are like, you need to do this and you need to do that, and oh gosh. So it's just a constant battle. But we have wonderful members, and when I say drown the drama, every now and then there's a little something that starts up, and it can either stop here or it can go here, and we stop it here. We have work to do. We get enough backstabbing and gossip and isolation and all of it. We don't need it from our own members. So when I get a hint that something like that is going on, I put a stop to it real quick. And then the next word is move on. Let's move on. So we've been very lucky. Our entire organization is like a family. We've had very little drama to deal with. Very little, almost none. So everybody seems appreciative, of the work that we do, and we're certainly appreciative of all of our members. So I'm not sure what else I can tell you. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but I can tell you that for me, this has been a roller coaster ride. It's very, very difficult because you have times when you're very excited and something good is going on and you feel like you've made progress. And then right around the corner is another setback. So, you know, it's hard when you're the organizer or the leader of your group because you're trying to deal with that too. But if you put too much of that on your members and they see that you're having a hard time, then they will have a hard time. So you have to say, yeah, this is terrible news, but hey, you know, we're not quitters and we're going to keep moving on. And that's, you know, that's what I try to do. Even sometimes I don't feel like doing that, but it is the members in return that kind of lift me back up and say, thank you for what you're doing, or if it wasn't for you, or, you know, if it wasn't for all the Texas Voices people, if it wasn't for the support groups, you know, I've made so many friends in Dallas, you know, I have such good connections now in Houston, thank you, then that makes me feel like we've done something good. So it's just, I know that all of y'all know it's a roller coaster. You get encouraged, discouraged, encouraged, discouraged. So it's tough. But I wouldn't give up what I do for anything. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it in a minute. It has been the most rewarding thing for me. And the last thing I will say, and then I'll take questions, I don't want to push religion onto anybody. Everybody has their own journey. I sometimes have to remind myself that I am building a resume for heaven. I don't get paid for what I do. And, you know, right now, I would love to have a new dining room table. I would like to have this, or I would like to have that. But that's really not going to matter in the end. What I have that's more valuable to me is the friends that I've made, the family that I've gained through Texas Voices and NARSOL. That's what matters, and that's what makes life more meaningful for me. So anyway, I thank y'all for listening, and if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure. Thank you.
How many hours each week do you spend on NARSOL?
You know, it kind of varies depending on what's going on. If the legislative session is going on, it is many hours a day because it's constantly calling, going back and forth to Austin, sending out emails to the members, trying to get them to do what we need them to do, going back and forth to meetings, and at the same time taking calls from new members. I still answer the Texas Voices info line. And incidentally, we don't call it a hotline because we don't want people to call saying, help me, I'm going to be arrested. We can't do anything about that. So we call it an info line. We want people to call and ask for information about Texas Voices and how they can help. So I still answer that line. My board's tried to get me to give it up, but I can't because I feel like I'm the first person they're going to talk to when they first speak to anyone. So I want to be there for them. And I don't have a job outside the home, so if I have to take 30 or 45 minutes to talk to them, I can do that.
So during a non-budget?
During a non-session, it kind of varies. If we have a special project going on, it might be 2 or 3 hours a day. I would guess that in a normal day, even when nothing's going on, it's at least 3 hours a day because of the incoming calls. Yes.
Hi, Mary Sue. Thank you so much. I identified with everything you said. I'm wondering, do I have to say it over? Good morning, Mary Sue. Thank you so much. I've identified with everything you said. My question for you this morning is, back in Connecticut, we're on episode, 5 of the reality show, Connecticut for One Standard of Justice. How do you end the drama?
Between members?
Or between you and a member?
Normally, I call, and it's a face-to-face, hey, look, there seems to be a lot of a little problem here. And then I tell them how much they've done that's helped us and how much I appreciate them. But that, we need to go ahead and settle this now and today, and let me know what I can do to help settle this, because we need to move on. Normally, they're pretty receptive with that. If we have a member who continues on and on and off in a path that is unhealthy for the organization, they're gone, period. We've only had one in 9 years. But if we do have a member that is unhealthy for our organization because of continuous gossip or problem starting, they're gone. We're not the right group for them. You're welcome.
Can you kind of outline things that Texas Voices does? And the context of this question is, I'm sitting in South Carolina, and I have an email list with about 20 people on it. And where do I go from there? I personally am trying to go to committee meetings in the legislature and talk to legislators, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how I get from there to a real functioning organization. So the question is, what should we be doing? What things can we offer? What do I start?
Okay. Gosh, we started slow and we've moved slow. I think, our start was with the email group, and at first it was a chat room. And then, ideas started coming forward. And then, of course, we had to build a website, because if people were going to hear about us, they needed to be able to find us. And so then we had to come up with the toll-free number as well. In the meantime, I ended up giving out my cell number to everybody and their animals. Your cat, the prosecutor, I really don't care. Anybody can call my cell phone. That's all of my friends now. The only people that I even associate with are the members. Those are my best friends. So I don't care if everybody has my number, but we do have the toll-free line. So we started with that. I think, okay, so if you're saying, gosh, how did she get over 600 members? It's not that our group is any better than yours. It's that we have almost 90,000 people on our registry. So that makes it easier to get members. If you look at almost 90,000, 600 really isn't that many. So, that's why we have such a large influx of people coming into the group. We have tons of registrants, and then add on their family members. One thing that we did was, just like many of you, we sent out the letters to people on the registry, letting them know about Texas Voices, but we didn't do that until we had our website. That way, if they were curious, they could go to our website and learn more. And then we got so little response from that we started putting one of our brochures in with the letter to make it look more official. And we still get a very low response from that. So the last time, out of 100 letters, we had 3 responses. But I'll tell you, 2 of those responses turned out to be amazing members. So they were worth every penny of the postage that we sent out. What we did at the beginning was, when a new member would come and say, I want to do something, what can I do, what can I do? We'd say, go to your zip code, let us give you the letter, and send out letters to the registrants in your zip code. So they would buy the stamps, they would buy the envelopes, and that was their contribution as a new member. And that's how, and we still do that a lot when people want to know, what can we do? Here, here's our letter and some brochures. Can you do some mail outs for us? So throughout the 9 years, we do them all the time. A few here, a few there. And it is true that people hold on to them, and sometimes they won't call you. Life is going good. And then they have a problem and they go looking for that letter. So sometimes, they'll come later. That's how we started gaining members, and mostly by word of mouth. We did a lot of news stuff, news media stuff. I did a lot of news. Phil Taylor and I did quite a bit of news media stuff, and we still do. And so people would see us on the news, and they'd email the website, or they'd, call the toll-free number. That was another problem that I had. It wasn't really a problem, but it could have been. When I started this, my son was going to prison. And when I really got involved and the media realized that we were out there, I started getting contacted by media to do interviews. And I knew that if I was going to be the director of the group, that I had to put my name out there. It's not good for me to say I'm the director, but I want you to keep my name quiet. So I was fine with that. I don't have any problem with putting my name out there. But then I'm thinking my son's in prison. And at some point, they have TVs in there and they have newspapers and they're going to see my name. Molnar is not real common. So I thought, man, this is not going to be good for him. So I did discuss it with him and I said, there might be a problem for you if one of these articles or newscasts comes into the prison. This might cause a problem. What are you thinking? And he said, do what you need to do. And if something happens, we'll take it and we'll handle it later. And I said, okay, I'm putting my name out there. Go ahead, he said. So that was good, because if he would have said, oh, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm not sure what I would have done. I can't say what I would have done. But I was very fortunate that he said, no, do what you need to do. So getting members to come in, it's just little by little, word of mouth. Lawyers are a good way. We used to take our brochures to the lawyers' offices. One thing that happened for me recently, gosh, I don't know, let's see. I have to word this real careful because I'm on tape. The Council on Sex Offender Treatment, which is the big group of treatment providers in Texas, they invited me to speak at their last conference. It was their yearly conference. So I was printing out, they wanted me to talk about Texas Voices and what we do and who we are. And I've never done that. I've only spoke in front of advocates and lawyers. So I'm printing out my handouts, and then the chairman of the council texts me and says, are you ready? Or it was like a week before, and I said, text me back, yeah, I'm printing out my handouts, he says. Text me back, oh, you don't want to do that. Everything needs to go on disc or whatever. We don't print out handouts. And I said, why not? He said, well, there's going to be 460 people. And I went, oh my God. 460 treatment providers, parole and probation officers. Oh, joy. So he said, no, I'm thinking 80. I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be nervous. 80 people, 460. So it was fun. I took door prizes. That's the way to lighten the mood. Asked our members. She makes quilts and he makes wooden cutting boards, and donate. We're going to do door prizes to get everybody in a good mood before I start. But it worked out pretty good, and a lot of the treatment providers went back and told their groups about us. So their groups went and told their family members. And we got quite a few new members from that. So it's like every time you put yourself out there. And when I first started this, believe it or not, I went to the homes of registered people in my neighborhood and knocked on doors. And it was strange for them. It wasn't strange for me. I was trying to get members. But they were like, who in the world is this lady? I think I knocked on about 20 doors. I had people look out, their blinds wouldn't open, But I did get a couple of members there. So, I mean, it's just I don't know what to tell you about, like, getting members and getting started. For me, getting started was just going up to the Capitol and figuring out from the staff members, what should we do? What should we be doing at this point? These are the things we want to see happen. How do we get there from here? And they would give me a list of things. Well, you could do this and this. So I'd go back and email the members. This is what we need to be doing. So it's been a learning process for me. I'm still learning. Every session, there's something that I don't know. Every session, something comes up. Yes?
Press what? Oh, talking to this, okay. Mary Sue, how long have Texas Voices been around?
9 years.
9 years. How long did it take, or I guess maybe it's still going on, for you to send out all the letters to,
Ooh.
just curiosity?
Well, we send them out in increments. At one time, when we first got started, we chose, I think it was 20 members, and we gave each of them like 5 zip codes. And they started, and we logged the zip codes. And then when they finished, we chose 20 more members, and we gave each of them 5 zip codes. And then when they finished, we went on. I don't know if every single person on the registry has gotten a letter, and the problem is new people are always added. So that's a really good thing to give out to your new members. When they ask as a new member, well, what can I do? Have them go to their zip code. Or if they want to go to their zip code and then pick the surrounding zip codes as well. We had someone in Lubbock who wanted to start a support group. So he said, do you mind if I send out letters to every registered person in Lubbock? Perfect. That was perfect. So that's, it's not just all of a sudden send out 90,000 letters. It's an ongoing process. Yeah, ongoing. I don't know.
Over here, Mary Sue. Sorry. Hi there, Mary Sue.
Hi.
First of all, let me commend you on having such a grassroots movement, because I think that's really where the heartbeat is at the end of the day. So I'm thinking out loud. I'm wondering, how would you deal, maybe you don't have this problem, maybe you do, when you have legal people that might join your organizations, be it an attorney or somebody in that legal field, then you get the expectations of the others who know that there are legal people in the group, and they may look towards them, have some sort of an expectation. How do you deal with that? Because I know that's a boundary issue, but at the same time, it's like you've got someone in your midst that's, like we said, there was a judge here and we didn't know who that was. If we did, we probably would have all been trying to get that judge's phone number. So how do you deal with those kinds of boundary issues, particularly with quote unquote professionals that might be in your membership group? How do you deal with that?
When you say expectations, do you mean like, I'm not understanding that. Like a member might call me and say, can you get this lawyer to help me with my case and I don't have any money?
Exactly. Because
Gotcha.
that's one of the issues that I've been dealing with. How do you deal with that?
We don't do that at all. I mean, we have to tell people straight out. The lawyers that support our group as a whole. They do not take individual cases. They do not. And the reason that they do not is because in Texas, there are literally thousands of people looking for some kind of help. Thousands of people who have no money. We sympathize with all of them. I wish we could help every one of them, but we can't. And you will find from time to time that people will want to join the group thinking that if they join, they will get free legal assistance. And our lawyers are really good to us. They help us figure out all kinds of things. I have questions all the time. So I'm always calling them on behalf of members, but not on behalf of a particular case. So someone might have a question about parole, and I'm like, really? I don't really know. So I will call Bill Haber and say, I've got a question. How does this work? Or what's going on with this? And then I can call this person back and tell them what I've learned. But I don't say to them, oh, call Bill. He'll talk to you. We've got 600 members. So these attorneys represent the group. As a whole, we let our members know that we're sorry, but we can't provide one-on-one casework. And we can't, and our lawyers do not take pro bono cases. And if they do, it's not us who will bring those cases to them. That is too much to ask. When you go to an attorney that's been helping your organization and you say, by the way, I've got 3 people over here who we want you to represent pro bono. I don't think that's ethical for us to do that. I mean, I think, we'd love for them to do that, but we would never ask. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Mary Sue.
Yes.
Do I need to push button? Mary Sue, let me just share my experience when I joined the group. And I experienced you as a warm and powerful presence face to face. And as soon as I heard about the group, I found out that there was going to be a regional meeting at a barbecue joint. And lots of people came, and I think that's what kind of cemented the connection. When Texas Voices had group meetings in Houston, in Austin, in Dallas, maybe once a year, and then the training sessions that we have, I think, are strong organization builders. And I wonder if you'd say a little bit more about how you organize those.
And that's another, I guess, point to your question. We do have regionals. Like, we don't, our legislators won't meet for 2 years. So this year, yes. This year and next year, I'll make plans to go meet with all of our Houston and surrounding area members. We'll find a good meeting location. We'll announce it in advance. We have everybody who lives in and around that area come. We'll have a good 3-hour, get-together meeting. The same goes for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then I'll head to Austin, wherever. Waco will be a new one for me this year. So I head to the different areas of Texas, and we gather all our members from that area, and that gives us that face-to-face connection, and it's really good for me because I get to hear their thoughts and their ideas and what they'd like to see and, the kind of where they're at, things that they'd like to do or problems that they have doing things. So that one-on-one is good. Plus it's good for them, I think, just for me to meet them and for them to meet me. So the regional meetings are real important. Then about once every year and a half, we have our statewide conference.
Mary Sue, are your attorneys, right over here,
Oh, sorry.
are your attorneys, do you pay your attorneys?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No. If they're doing a legal case for us, for the organization, we do pay for all expenses. Deposition fees, court costs, filing fees, travel. If they asked if it was a good enough case and the attorney said, I'm going to need at least such and such amount of money to take this from beginning to end, that would be a board vote, whether we pay them, but we're lucky with the cases we filed. They've done that just from the need to do something.
Well, how were you able to recruit these attorneys?
The one that we have now, Richard Gladden, he is just passionate, kind of like the attorneys that spoke here today. He is very passionate about what he does, and he wants to win. And he wants to win for us. And a lot of it might be that he's been at every one of our conferences. He goes to our meetings when I head up to Dallas area. We've kept him involved. He's in our Yahoo group. And he knows a lot of our people. And so he enjoys it, honestly. Toward the end of this legislative session, it was the biggest disappointment. And I called and said, oh my God, I am so overwhelmed with disappointment. And he said, hey, lighten up, it's been fun. To him, it's been fun. To me, it's been grueling. But we only have one or two. We have Richard Gladden, and then we have Bill Hayburn, who's going to be 80 pretty soon. So he's pretty much an advisor. He doesn't take on a lot of the legal work, but he will answer questions. We only have two. There's a lot of lawyers in Texas. We are hoping to recruit more. Now, speaking of the lawyers, there's a lot of attorneys who have contacted us, and they want their name on our website. Okay, we don't refer attorneys. We put the names of the attorneys on our website, and those are the attorneys that have in some way supported Texas Voices. in some way. So people will call and say, I need a referral for an attorney. We can't really say, oh, let me give you the great attorneys in your area, because some people might think they're great and others don't. What I can say to them is, I have a list of attorneys that our members have hired, and we've had very good reports on those attorneys. I'm not referring them to you, but since our members have used them, I can give you the name of our member that used them. I can give you the list of attorneys, but I can't tell you whether you will be happy with them or not. On our website is a list of attorneys who have and who continue to support Texas Voices. I cannot say whether you will be satisfied with their work or not, but I can tell you they support Texas Voices. If an attorney wants his name on our website, he's got to do something to support us.
Mary,
Yes, sir.
Mary, testing. Testing, okay. We have both, in Nebraska, we have Nebraskans Unafraid, which is our advocacy group, and we have a Fearless group. Our Fearless group is doing very well. Our advocacy group, we haven't been doing a whole lot of meeting, and we've kind of had the feeling that we don't want to mix advocacy with Fearless. Do you have Fearless groups, and how do you handle the difference between the two?
We have what's almost identical to Fearless groups, but it's support groups, and they are a part of Texas Voices. In actuality, you cannot attend a support group unless you are a Texas Voices member. If you're a Texas Voices member, you and your family can attend the support group. We have to know, of course, you know, every state is different, and I know that everyone does the support groups different, and I think that's a good thing because you know what the needs are for your own state and your members. But for us in Texas, you have to be a member. So if somebody calls and wants to be a member, they're vetted in a sense. Before I put them into the Yahoo group and before they start receiving all of our emails, they're vetted. Either I know who they are and what their story is, or Phil does, or one of our other board members, or one of our other members. Because the last thing I want is a news reporter getting into the group, a legislative staffer wanting to see if we're going to oppose certain bills, or some nosy vigilante that's just interested in what we're doing. That's not what we're about. We always want our members to feel safe. So if you're not a member, you can become a member if you want to go to the support groups. And what does it take to be a member? Just that we know who you are and why you're there. There's no registration fee. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to take 3 hours a day or 3 hours a week just because you care and you want to see a change in this issue. We have to know who you are, though. So it's a membership organization. And, like I said, we got to know who you are. Now, if you're not a member, you can get permission to come to the group by special invitation. Let's say that the Austin group, one time for the second hour, they invited a legislative staffer to talk to the group about how to work with the staff members. So that can be arranged, but that is done in the individual groups.
But then your Fearless is separate, or that's
Nope.
just your group?
Our group is all a part of Texas Voices. If you're a member, you have access to the support groups. Yeah. Yes.
Mary Sue, I'd like to, one, emphasize how well you delegate and involve members. And whether it's letter mailing or whatever, I'm going to specifically focus on something Don said. When you go up to the legislature, and sometimes it's related to a specific bill, but often it's just to go around and meet with staff people, or if you have an appointment. And, I get notice, John gets notice, Phil gets notice, Rick, often there'll be a half a dozen members from all over the state that will show up, and it's like the mother duck and the little ducks. But we show up, we're there for support, occasionally we testify, but it's a way of getting other people engaged. And so if it's just you going on those appointments and those meetings and going to the Capitol, unfortunately, that's isolated. If you bring 3 or 4 people with you, then all of a sudden, they have people in the organization that they know. And it's just like a ripple in a pond. And when I first started going, I didn't really know what to expect, but as I went a few more times, I really, grew to appreciate the value of what she does, but also the other people that came. And so when I go to the monthly Austin meetings, they always want me to give a 5-minute explanation of, well, what did you guys do at the Capitol this month? And Texas only has 140 days of session every 2 years. But there's still always a lot going on and other hearings and things. And it touches a lot of people. And it's all kind of first person. So, I mean, that's just one example, but I think Mary Sue is just exceptional about drawing in people and getting them engaged.
Well, the members are I mean, like the last time I went to the Capitol when I was lobbying against or for a bill, I know you emailed and said, hey, I'm available, do you need me? And Hans and a few others, and a lot of people went up, and so we divvied out. We've got 150 state representatives and 31 senators. That's a lot of offices. So we can divvy out paperwork, and we go in twos, and then, try and get as many offices hit. But it was funny, one morning as I was walking in, I see one of our members walking out. And I didn't even know she was going to be there. And I said, hey, what you doing? I just made all my offices. Because I had asked them, in the email, if anybody can get to the Capitol, here are the offices we need to stop by. If you can't get to the Capitol, send the email address. Send them an email. Here's their email addresses. But I always put out sample emails. Here's a sample. Don't copy and paste. Put some of your own words, swap it around so it doesn't look identical. But I'm giving you 4 samples to go by just so you know what to say in your email. We also have sample letters that we give to people just to get them started. And then we have lots of information, how to write a letter, what to say, how long, how short, that kind of thing. But it's pretty interesting at the Capitol, and the more members that show up, the more fun it is, or the more it makes it fun. It makes a grueling experience fun.
We were up here, the rattlesnake roundup was there.
Yeah, they had a rattlesnake roundup, and there were our members with rattlesnakes around their neck. I'm like, good Lord. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. I tell y'all, I was talking about doing media. It's just a funny little story. One time we were fighting against this park restriction, and when the media in San Antonio got news that, there's this lady, that advocates for sex offenders, and she's fighting against the ordinance, and so they wanted to interview me, and so I said, fine. So it was a park ordinance, so I interviewed at a park with both of them, and the stories were okay. I mean, they were fairly balanced, but the following day, they came out in the evening news, and there was the lead-ins and all. It was a big deal. The following day, I went to a Valero and got a cup of coffee, and I was standing in a long line, and the stupid lady at the cash register says, I recognize you. You're that sex offender lady. And everybody in the line turned around. Hell, the men smiled. The men are like, whoa, sex offender lady. Everybody turned around like, whoa, and I'm like, yeah. And I thought, oh, God have mercy. And then one time I was at the Capitol, and the editor or one of the writers from Texas Monthly was there, and he was kind of following me around, and he said, God, I'm amazed that you do this. You just don't look like somebody that would be doing this. And I said, believe me, 10 years ago, I would have never thought I'd be doing this. If somebody would have told me what I'd be doing, I'd have told them they were crazy. And he said, did you know that we were in the elevator and people were looking at your name tag? And he said, you got out of the elevator and I stayed on, and One man said to the other, "Who was that? I see her around here a lot." And the other guy says to him, "That's that sex offender lady." And I said, "Yeah, it seems to be what I'm referred to now, is that sex offender lady." Doesn't matter to me. But anyway, I just thought that that first one was really crazy. That sex offender lady. Oh gosh, let's just announce it to the world, as if I hadn't already done that on the news 2 nights before. So, but any other questions? Yes.
Oh, hi, Mary Sue. Cindy from Connecticut. Is it on? Yes, it's on. My question is, going back to the attorneys who are on the Texas Voices site, can you elaborate a little on what type of support we can get from attorneys?
Well, so what I asked for at first from Bill Hayburn when he got involved, and how that went about is, after I kept bugging him with emails telling him how many members I had, he wanted to meet. So we had a face-to-face meeting. And he said, "Oh, I trust you a little bit more now." So that's what I asked him was, to start out with, when I have questions, like when our members have legal questions, because we are not supposed to give legal advice, we're not lawyers. So when our members have legal questions, can I call you if I need an answer, if it's something that I don't know? And that was how I started. Sure, you can call anytime. And I do. So there's 2 lawyers, David O'Neill and Bill Hayburn, who I depend on for that. Then when our conference comes along, I tell them, "I'm going to set up a table for your firm because you're always so good about answering my questions." And then they say, "Well, we're going to donate to sponsor your conference." So what I usually ask for is a donation. We have a raffle, and normally they donate either $1,000 for conference expenses or a $500 Walmart gift card. So every year at the conference they donate, and then we give them a table for their law firm. So that's a good thing. They're also there to answer questions at the conference for our members. That's how that one firm helps us, definitely. Richard Gladden is also available for questions and answers. He did offer to do the residency restriction lawsuits for us if we paid all expenses, which we've been doing. He's been amazing. He just he's got a passion for it, just like we do. He thinks that all this is just so unconstitutional, and he's got a passion for fighting things that are wrong. So that's where he comes into this for us. We've got other lawyers who have started coming to our conference, and we can ask them for a lot of things. We can say, "We've got a support group there in your area. Can you go meet with them? If you're invited, will you go meet and answer questions for our members?" That's how you really get them involved, when they start meeting people face to face and they like the people that they meet, then they want to do more. Or you'll say, "Hey, we have a conference coming up. Are you coming?" "Yes, I'm coming." "You want to donate a raffle prize?" I mean, we're careful not to ask for too much, but we ask for what we know that they can afford to give. So, I mean, I wish we had more involved, and we're going to work on that. But unfortunately, a lot of attorneys, they really don't care about right and wrong. Some of them just want to get paid. So you have to find the good guys. You have to find the guys that just really want to help for the right reasons, which is hard to do.
Excellent. Funding, free will offering, 600 members, but no registration fee?
We have no membership fee. One of the reasons is we see all of these organizations in Texas that are really large, and they have like a $25 or $50 registration membership fee a year. What is 25 or 50 bucks a year? It's a ton of paperwork for us. A ton of paperwork. I can get $25 or $50 out of every member at least in a year. It's just not worth it. And then what about somebody that every time they think about it, they send a $100 check? If we had them on a $50 a year membership, would they do that? No. I think we get more contributions without the membership fee. We send out a fundraising letter. John Cordero, I think, and Peter, y'all put that together last time, right? The fundraising letter? That's so many things for you, I know. Rally at the Capitol. We were involved in a rally at the Capitol. We held our signs up. That was pretty cool. Yeah, we get good donations, you know, and there's the great donations and there's the very special donations, like when an inmate sends $5 out of their commissary fund. That's a special donation. That's somebody who really can't afford it. We have a lot of people that can't afford it, that cannot afford to send anything. But you know, when we ask for stamps, they'll send you 10 stamps. So we do well on the donations, actually. We have a lot of people that donate. It comes out of their account and into our account monthly. And Peter encouraged that throughout a lot of members. He talked to the Austin group about that, and a lot of them started, even if it's $5 a month, that's $5 every month. You know, it's not a lot for that one person, but it's a lot for Texas Voices. When have one less latte and send in $5 a month. We have the $10 a month every month, the $50 a month every month. A good thing to do is when you have a member that leaves the organization because life is so great for them, maybe they got removed from the registry somehow and they really don't need to get involved anymore, or for some reason life is so great that they don't need to work for change for the other people anymore. Those are really good people to hit up with the guilt. We need a donation. A letter saying, we miss you. And we were so glad we could all work to help you get to where you're at today. And we just want you to remember us with your donation. Here's an envelope. We get some good donations like that. People are going, oh man, I forgot all about Texas Voices.
Very soon, didn't you get $1,000 from an inmate?
Yeah, sure did. $1,000 donation from a federal inmate.
Is there a story there?
Well, he'd been on our inmate list for years, you know, and a lot of them write and say, is there a subscription? Well, we don't need to do that because we have members that will supply all the stamps. So we tell them, no, we'll get that for you. Don't worry about it. We send anybody who wants to be on the list. He'd been on there for years. And I don't know what the story is. After 4 years, he just sent me a letter and he said, I've called my son and I'm sending you a donation. I've got some money put away and I'm going to send a donation. And I said, thank you. We appreciate that, but don't take money out of your commissary, is what I told him, because I didn't know that the guy had money. And a week later, we get a $1,000 check. I'm like, wow. I even called the son and said, can he afford this? Because the son said, my name, I'm so-and-so's son, and like, can he afford this? I feel, funny, because he said, no, he can afford it. I said, well, thank you. So I send him, my first thing was concern, like, I don't want this guy taking everything out of his savings, but apparently he didn't. So, yeah, it was great. It was much appreciated.
How does, Phil from Vermont, how does Texas Voices do strategic planning, and how do you set priorities, and how often do you do that process?
Ooh, strategic planning is difficult because we have so many people in the group. One thing that happens that we have to get a handle on really quickly, people tend to want to go rogue. They think they're going to do something that's going to help the group. And they start doing something that they shouldn't be doing or that somebody else is already doing. And so a lot of what I do is when I send out emails during the session is to say in big, bold, black letters, do nothing at this time. Do nothing. Most of them are glad to hear that because they've been getting emails saying, do this now, call these offices, email these legislators, do this, do that. And then all of a sudden I'm saying, do nothing. It's difficult and it happens sometimes, but that's why we're really intent on making sure that they know, no matter what you do or who you talk to in the legislature or what letters you send, never represent Texas Voices. Never. Represent yourself as a individual. Because with over 600, we never know what somebody else is going to say. They may say something that's not even in our mission statement. And then they say, I'm with Texas Voices, and then it goes down as John Smith, Texas Voices. So we tell them, do this on your own. You're always a citizen or a constituent, never Texas Voices. But yeah, it's really hard, that strategy. When it comes to testifying in front of the legislature, we've got all these people who were in the closet and never wanted to speak out, and all of a sudden they want to testify. I can tell you it's not a good idea. Everybody can do it the way they see fit. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. We pick and choose testifiers. If you have 5 people getting up there, let's say you have 5 people who are registered, and 5 people are going to get up and tell the exact same story. It's not a good idea. What we try is, too many testimonies as it is in Texas are frowned on. So we do a little of each. We have one professional testify. Let's say we're doing residency restrictions. We have a professional testify, or 2 professionals, professors, or whatever, count treatment providers. Then we have one registrant, one family member of a registrant, one child of a registrant. Somebody is going to talk about the research. Somebody is going to talk about this. Thank you, so that everybody's talking about something extremely different. Nobody's repeating each other. And you have to be, and so we tell people, look, we can't tell you not to testify. It's your right to testify. We're asking you not to testify because one wrong statement can kill it for all of us. But if you really feel like you have to testify and you're going to testify, please call me and let me put you with Phil Taylor, or let me put you with me or somebody who can go over your testimony. Because sometimes they will pick the least educated person to ask all the tough questions. And when they do, it can ruin a bill. So, there's a lot of good comebacks, and there's a lot of strategy, tons of strategy. But for us, the only way that we can do that is to keep sending out the emails. And I tell you, when you have good members who are so appreciative and so glad that something's being done, we don't have many problems. If I say don't do anything, most of them won't do anything. Or if I say please do this, most of them will do it. So, and that's where you come with, what do you do with somebody that does their own thing regardless and it ends up hurting the organization? Yeah. So, but anyway, love you guys very much, and I appreciate it. So glad I got to see y'all, and happy to be here.